Hello guys and welcome back. Some time ago a viewer named Sasha got in touch and told me about this AC unit, which was on sale as slightly used for less than 200 euros, and he said he got one and he thinks it's perfectly predestined for being turned into a 2-hose unit. Why? Well, first of all, everything is nice and close to each other, and all of the components are already mounted so they fit perfectly flush. So if we put an outside hose down here, it's very probable that there is already a layer of separation between the low pressure and the high pressure side. And same thing goes for the cooling. We have the high pressure side cooling and low pressure side cooling here. And I'm pretty sure that there is some sort of isolation and insulation between the two to make this thing slightly more efficient. Now, these units are available in Germany by Medion, but I'm pretty sure they're just Midea units, as 7,000 and 9,000 BTU unit. This is the 7,000 BTU one, and I can't imagine that there is a big difference between the two of them. Maybe the amount of coolant in there, maybe the 9,000 BTU unit has a circulation pump for the condensate. I don't know, but two things are pretty obvious. This thing was not designed for this case, because if you take the outlet here, you see it protrudes into the inlet. So whatever you do, if you have this as a standard room unit, you're going to get a lot of the hot radiation going down back into your intake. So probably if we can close all of this up and make this nice and separated and have one hose here, the other one down there, with a nice big baffle at the back, then this unit will probably become a lot better. Also, as I'm told, there are adaptations for this to turn this into a room unit where it actually fits inside a wall, and the wall has separations for intake air, outgoing air, and taking in the air to be cooled, so you can pull it from the top of the room where it's warmer. That is one of the things that I would really like to try out sometime. Just have like something like a snorkel and take the air from the top of the room and feed it into the cooling cycle, because that should make these things a lot more efficient still. So first things first, let's open up the back and have a look inside and try to figure out if we really need to do anything to get an isolation or an insulation between the intake and the outlet. And let's see if everything is closed up. So if we have a 2-hose unit, we don't want to leak any of the outside air into the room. So let's look inside. So let's take everything off here. So we have one drain for condensate here and another one down here, which makes me think that there's probably a pretty big container in the bottom here that can take quite a lot of it up. And so maybe there is a something like a pump or something that's moving that puts condensation on the back of the evaporator coil, condensation coil. But let's see. I'm quite amazed that these things keep getting smaller and smaller and lighter and lighter. This comes with one downside. We get more and more pressure in the devices all the time, which is okay. But the thing that I'm worried is I'm worried about that the heat exchangers become more and more closed. To get rid of so much energy in a small heat exchanger, you have to have a lot of cooling fins, and the more cooling fins you have, the easier it is to get them plugged with dust and other debris. And you have to make sure that you keep these things absolutely pristine clean. And well, that's something that doesn't happen that much. Also, the compressors themselves become smaller and smaller. They still produce quite a lot of heat, and then you have a lot of stored heat from the compressor in the bottom of the cooler unit, and that's something that you don't really want to have. So oh wow, yeah, that's perfect. Ha! Let's get you in there. Now, one of the steps that I had to do with the other unit was separate the different layers. Low pressure, high pressure, low pressure, high pressure on the front. So what happens is the high pressure from here wants to leak up onto the cooling. And with this device, there is already stuff in place to make sure that that doesn't happen. Right here, I think it's not connected correctly, but we can fix that. This whole thing looks pretty well insulated, and the separation here is probably pretty good already. There's even foam on the sides here. So with the other cooler, I had to fence all of that off just to make sure that we don't leak too much outside air into the room, because if it's very humid outside, you don't want that humidity to creep into your room at night while the unit is not running. And this looks very, very promising. The only thing that I see is that they didn't do a good job with this here. I think this belongs up here. Yeah, I mean, that is pretty good. I mean, Sasha, who gave me this tip, he was spot on. This unit is pretty good for turning into a two-hose unit. What you can see is that the heat exchanger on the condenser is pretty big, while the heat exchanger on the evaporator is small, but has a very tight spacing. So yeah, I guess we're gonna have to see this. We have the two sensors for the evaporator temperature and the intake temperature right on the top of here. I don't know how I'm going to get, if I can just open the unit up completely. I don't think that's possible just like that. And I don't want to force my way in there if everything is already the way we need it. but I quite like it. I'm wondering if this is a full phase controlled compressor in there. Yeah, it would be nice if it was. So maybe let's put the back on and just turn it on for a start and block the back and see how much suction we can generate, and if we get any change of speed in the fan motor, because that would actually indicate that we're capable of pulling some sort of a vacuum, and that would show us that we're doing a good job with the separation of chambers. Let's do that. So that was quick. And also you can see in the back here, everything is nice and tight. Seems to be, well, you seem to have spent a lot of thought getting this thing set up correctly. I wonder if we should add a layer of separation up here like they did here, to make sure that we don't push any of the hot air into the cooling loop. Maybe I'll see if I have something. No, sorry, I don't have any. I have to go out and buy some. So let's just close it back up again. And yeah, it actually seems to seal really well. That for once is a good thing. I wonder if they actually sell these with a different back that is designed for two hoses. It wouldn't actually make that much of a difference for this device, but at least the construction allows for that. Also, and I have to give him credit for that, this one, my first conversion AC was also a reused or a refurbished unit, but this one here didn't come completely destroyed. Also, that it has all the nice stuff. It has remote control. I think it has Bluetooth or something. It's nothing that I really care for, but it's nice to have it. Okay. So let's hook it up to power, and then we're going to block the intake and see if we still get a lot of airflow from the port going out. If we don't, we can deduce that the separation between the two chambers is already good enough. Power. Okay. No smoke, no fire. Good. Let's get something to block this off. I think this should work. So, how do we turn this on? Okay. Oh yeah, it has good pressure. Like, it has a lot of pressure. Now if we block this off. Wow, this is good. Now we get almost nothing at all. So yeah, this is good. And I don't know if you can hear this. The fan speed is actually going up quite a bit. So we are pulling some sort of a vacuum. And I can't really feel a lot of air rushing in from the bottom. Which is also good because it means that if we have a 2-hose unit, we won't be getting a lot of humidity from the outside circulating into the room. So I like that. So if we plug this up, yeah, then we do get a lot. Oh yeah, we get a lot of blow by here, which is probably from the pathways that take care of the water. But neat. Let's see if it will turn the compressor on for us. Okay, let's see if it starts cooling now. There we go. The compressor is actually nice and quiet. Yeah, and it's cooling. So let's see if we can make a nice baffle for the condenser. And see what happens then. Okay, so I ran this for a couple of minutes with the hose on. Where is it? And it seems to cool quite well. I did, however, notice that if I want to keep the filters on, the filter screen down here, I'm going to have to think of something when I make the adapter for the other hose, because we need to place this at a certain distance so we can get most of the air going through all of the heat exchanger, because if we just bolt it on like that, the area that we use on the heat exchanger will be too small, and we're going to lose a lot of performance that way. On the other hand, the fact that this part goes so far into the intake makes it kind of complicated. I don't know what I'm going to do there. One thing that I can tell you is People always tell me use bigger hoses. I mean, I'm using the hoses that came with the system right now, and they work out fine. The thing about air is it compresses really well. So when the fan in there compresses the air to push it out, it doesn't really make a difference how big the hose is to a certain extent. The only problem that you have is on the suction side. That's where a bigger hose makes sense, because it doesn't only compress, but you can also lower the pressure. That means that the cooling efficiency goes down. But with these systems, we pull so much air that it doesn't really make that much of a difference if you have one of these hoses or the next size up. It's not that important. Also, when you have a hose where you pull in a lot of outside air that is hot, and it has a very large area, it is going to radiate a lot of heat into the room, and we don't want that. The best thing that we could do would be to actually put the whole back of the machine on the outside and just feed the cold side with air coming from the room. That would be very, very efficient, but it's also very hard to do. You would actually have to build this inside your house and basically have all these baffles at the right location for this to work. And I can't do that for my house because everything's made of stone. So that's going to be it for this video. I want to make a few videos on this and make a few design decisions along the way. So if you have a good idea, put it in the comments, and we'll see where we can go from here, because I think this is a very, very good unit for modifying, for having a dual hose unit, or something that is actually really connected to your home. That would be really, really, really interesting. So this unit, by the way, is called Medion MD37215. It's, like I said, a 7,000 BTU unit. It uses 780 watts, which I don't think is that much. It has R290 as the coolant, I think. Right, 120 grams of that, and I think R290 is propane, so it's flammable. Be careful with these things. Working on them, always do it in a well ventilated area, and be careful.